Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another live streamed episode of Coffee with the Critters, where we live stream every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So for those that are new, welcome to Coffee with the Critters. My name is Laura Joseph, professional animal trainer and owner of the Animal Behavior Center. Trying to get my slides up here. This is a weekly conversation for people who are fascinated with how animals think, learn, and behave. And you can find more about all of the information that we have to offer and the services we have to offer at the animalbehaviorcenter.com, our website. And you can also contact me, Lara, Lara, at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. And for the past 20 years, I've worked with a lot of different species of animals, and I bring the information in the science of behavior known as applied behavior analysis here to you through Coffee with the Critters. And we explore the science of animal behavior, behavior modification, training, and enrichment through the lens of the science known as applied behavior analysis. And for the past 4 weeks, I have live streamed important concepts in understanding behavior. I have also selected a few people who made comments that showed they are trying. And for those of you that know the work that I do, if I see you are trying, I am going to help you. And these few people I have given access to certain services of ours over the past couple weeks because we've taken this past 4 weeks, and today is the last episode, the 4th episode of a series of 4, celebrating our 13th anniversary of opening the Animal Behavior Center. I have been in this for 20 years. And as a way to help, I have opened my doors to certain services in my memberships. Because as I always say, behavior isn't easy, and mistakes are not something to get frustrated with. Mistakes are guidelines, and I hope you enjoy the content that I've been bringing you and today's content, because when we know better, we do better. So let's get started. Today's topic, I wanted to talk about motivation and how it's misunderstood. Because when behavior doesn't happen, people assume the animal is stubborn, the animal isn't interested, the animal knows this behavior that I'm requesting of it, but it won't do it, and the animal isn't food motivated. But more often, what's actually happening is motivation is misread, not being understood, not correctly identified. So, motivation drives behavior. Behavior does not occur without motivation. And if an animal is alive, it's always performing some type of behavior. We talked about this in our memberships when we're trying to teach animals new things. I'm always telling people, slow down. You need to slow this down. A lot of people move too fast, and if behavior isn't happening, the first variable to evaluate is not compliance, it's motivation. And a lot of people will start interacting with animals, trying to change behavior first without identifying reinforcers. And if you haven't identified reinforcers, you may have motivation from the animal, but it may be motivated to do something other than what you're asking. So in the first week, of this series of 4. We talked about misreading arousal as engagement. The second week, we talked about measuring behavior. The third week, we talked about reinforcement history. And underneath all of that, motivation determines whether behavior happens at all. Good morning, everybody. Um, so motivation is not a single thing, a single event. It's influenced by many things, such as the value of the reinforcer that we're offering to maintain or increase behavior. Deprivation versus satiation. You hear me talk about this in our podcast, our monthly hour-long podcast, which are part of our memberships. It's not the podcast that you're listening to here. And deprivation does not mean withholding food from an animal. Deprivation is the opposite of satiation. The environment, competing reinforcers from in the environment. And there's a way to work through competing reinforcers and reinforcement history, which was what we talked about. I think it was last week. So animals are constantly evaluating, is this worth it to me right now? And that is why I tell you to get your list of reinforcers, start building them. Because one thing I don't do is ask a behavior without being able to deliver a reinforcer. If I do and I can't deliver a reinforcer, I'm not going to expect that behavior to be strong or stay strong. So when behavior doesn't happen, people often say, oh, the animal's not motivated. But what's actually happening is the reinforcer isn't valuable. It isn't valuable enough. The effort that we're asking is too high. The reinforcer doesn't match the behavior. The environment is too distracting, and you can shape, focus, motivation, and attention through with distracting environments. It's behavior that needs to be shaped, behaviors. And there are stronger competing reinforcers in the environment. So some observable indicators of motivation, and we're talking about this in our foundations membership and our advanced membership with the data collection sheets. Observable indicators of motivation, latency to respond. What that means is when you cue the behavior, it's the latency is that period of time that happens afterwards before the animal gives you the behavior. Another observable indicator is willingness to engage, persistence, choice between options, distracting environment, and speed and intensity of the behavior. These are measurable, and this is why I talked about, I believe, last week or the week before on data collection. We just had an hour-long, in-depth podcast on the importance of collecting data, because what it does when you're collecting data, you're ruling out the guesswork. It's the science. It's the science of the behavior that is right in front of you. So let me tell you where the mistakes or where a lot of people, the different paths they go down. They are relying on one reinforcer, and it's usually food. And you often hear me say, build your list of reinforcers. Food is not the only reinforcer. And if you find yourself in a trap where you are if you find yourself using food only as a reinforcer, you will soon find yourself trapped. Every behavior has a reinforcer, and you can identify that reinforcer by asking, Why is this animal doing this? And, well, you can find out what the reinforcer by answering that question. Another mistake, a lot of people will make is increasing deprivation instead of value. And here you'll find yourself in a trap as well, where the animal is so deprived of one reinforcer, highly valued reinforcer was withheld, that the animal is not focusing on what you're asking. Instead, it's focusing on, when am I getting the reinforcer? When am I getting the reinforcer? Animals aren't eagerly learning at this point. What they're doing is just throwing behaviors and too focused on the reinforcer. Another one is ignoring competing motivators, asking for too much effort too soon, and labeling animals as stubborn instead of analyzing observable, measurable behavior. And all of this, what I'm talking about, is applicable to people as well. I just focus on the animals because we know this works on people, because we're talking about the laws of behavior. So, practical application. Um, if we want to improve or increase motivation, we can increase the value of the reinforcer. We can reduce response effort initially. We can manage the environment. I'm talking about this right now in my presentation I'm going to be giving a week from tomorrow, about antecedent arrangement, rearranging the environment to better successfully get the behaviors we're going to be asking. Build reinforcement history strategically. Introduce choice. Well, if you're using positive reinforcement training, it's always involving choice. I never force an animal to stay in front of me and do the behavior I'm asking. We were just talking about this in the parrot project the other day. A lot of times when we're working with positive reinforcement, we are giving things of value to the animal for behaviors we're requesting. And just because we're using positive reinforcement does not mean it's a positive experience for the animal. I have said that numerous different times. There are points where where I've seen people, and I've done it myself, push the animal to get the behavior because you're like, I know I can get this. Just because the animal is giving you the behavior does not necessarily mean it's positive reinforcement. That's when we start slipping across that slippery slope of using negative reinforcement, which is coercion to get behaviors, which we don't want to do because we know that's paired with us and we know the consequences of using aversives to control behavior. So, key takeaway: motivation is not something you force. It's something you design. It's something you create. It's something you prepare for. It's something you identify, observe, and use, collect and use. So give me your thoughts and your feedback. I may select one person to attend an upcoming solution session that happens every Tuesday night in my advanced membership. We will be meeting this Tuesday night. The following Tuesday, I'm going to have to rearrange that because I'm going to be out of town, out at a conference. So give me your thoughts and feedback, and I may select somebody to attend one of my upcoming solution sessions. So, after 20 years of working with animals, one thing is very clear. Behavior doesn't happen because animals are told to do something. It happens because in that moment, it is worth it. When you understand motivation, behavior becomes clearer. Decisions become intentional and outcomes become predictable. So animals don't lack motivation. We just haven't identified what matters to them yet. So I want to thank everybody for attending these past 4 episodes of Coffee with the Critters, where we focused on more intent information to celebrate the Animal Behavior Center's 13-year anniversary. And don't forget our Coffee with the Critters, our now podcast, which you can find on Spotify, iHeartMedia, anywhere you listen to your podcast. And keep an eye out. I'm going to be I've already started doing this. I've started working on this. If people are on my email newsletter list and they're not clicking on it, that means they're probably not interested, and I don't want to bother you if you're not interested. So as of today, we're going to start cleaning up our email list and deleting a lot of people. I really only want people on there that are interested in our content and want to be notified of upcoming live streams, newsletters. I have a lot of projects I'm working on right now. A lot. Um, Lisa says, when the bird is blind, how do you get them to understand? He's so busy searching, bobbing his head, then we both get frustrated. That's a great question, Lisa. And I'm getting ready to attend a meeting next week on working with blind animals. It may be an easy, fast question, but it's not an easy, fast answer. There are cues, conditioned reinforcers, that we can pair with what we're asking animals to do. So I will have an upcoming Q&A. I do want to mention that next week I will not be having Coffee with the Critters because I will be traveling to this conference. So pay attention to the Sam I Can Foundation, our nonprofit. This grant, we are offering grants to people within the nonprofit animal organization, and you have until March 31st to apply. And those of you that helped with my fundraiser of building a better world for Stan, we have completed that fundraiser and we have raised more than what we had asked for, and I appreciate that. We had to put some of that to use last week. But once I get back from this conference, we are focusing on getting that tank. And the conference I'll be presenting at is two coming together: the Animal Behavior Management Alliance and the International Association of Avian Trainers and Educators. So I'm excited to be attending this conference, listening to all the other trainers, and I'm excited and honored to accept my abstract was accepted to present, because I know it's hard to get in to present to this conference. So I will end this live stream and I will go back and pay attention and respond to everybody's comments. So I want to say thank you, and thank you for following along, helping us celebrate our 13-year anniversary. I'm going to start cleaning up that email newsletter list, and I will see you guys for another episode of Coffee with the Critters.